All right, how are we doing?
Doing good, man. Yeah, so what are the new guidelines? Is it bars and restaurants have to be closed from 10 to 4? No darts or billiards, I believe. You can't play. The COVID is so smart. It knows to target those playing specifically billiards and or darts.
Damn straight.
I think I would have laughed my ass off if he would have said you're banned from playing like Duck Hunter or Buck Hunter.
Yeah,
specifically those games that are always in a corner. Yeah,
right. You cannot play Buck Hunter whatsoever.
Can't go anywhere near that plastic orange gun.
Yes.
We're gonna have it taped off with red and yellow tape.
Our studies show that this is where most of the spread happens.
Jesus. Oh my God. So I looked at so all the lockdown bullshit aside, which Biden and Harris won't refute, they actually support it. You and I know this.
Right.
All the lockdown stuff aside, Trump is still in it in Nevada and Arizona.
Right.
And that's aside from all the stuff we're going to find out probably next week about all the voter fraud that's been going on.
Yeah.
He's down less than 14,500 votes in Arizona, and I believe they're going to have a recount.
Yeah, I think I did see that there's going to be a recount.
Which makes it even more baffling that Fox called Arizona for Biden so early on in the election day.
I don't know where these guys get their numbers from, but it always seems to be off by a little bit at the very least. But it's just, it's interesting to me that the media is the one calling it. I know they're not the ones calling it in the end, but they're the ones saying, here are all the votes, here's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've seen in history they've gotten it wrong before, so I don't know.
Oh, definitely, man. And the New York Times deleted that one tweet which said the media determines the election outcome or something.
Yeah.
And so they kind of showed their hand when they sent out that tweet because, well, we've all known that. We've all known it's an echo chamber, and we know which direction the mainstream media wants it to go in.
Right.
They're all the cards are stacked against Trump.
What's up, homie?
And he got what? Millions more votes than he did in 2016.
Right. He got more votes than last time, but that many more people came out for Biden.
Yeah. The interesting part about that too is that he surpassed Obama's record as well. So you're in only 6% more voters this year, and you're surpassing both voters. That doesn't add up.
Yeah, and not a lot of down ballot voting either, straight down the party lines for Democrats.
That's the interesting part. And like, remember fresh before all this election stuff, like how big a topic Amy Coney Barrett was, and how everybody knew that if you want to stop that, you get the Senate, yet they had lost the Senate.
Yeah.
It's not like it wasn't like something to be forgotten about. It was like 2 weeks before they learned that to have the power, you have to have the Senate, and they couldn't win the Senate, and they had so many less votes for Senate votes than they did for Biden.
Those are good points. And the media has forgotten about a great many things. Well, the FBI went to that Pennsylvania postal worker's office who gave a sworn affidavit stating that he was told by higher ups to backdate mail-in ballots.
Yeah, they have over 136. Over 136 affidavits signed.
Yeah.
Also, the thing that I don't understand, and if you're like, let's say we're conspiracy theorists and that Biden won, and like always, there's voter fraud, which we all acknowledged before. There's always gonna be voter fraud.
Just a matter of how widespread it is. Go on.
Exactly, but why did every state that wasn't a swing state have their ballots in time?
Mm-hmm.
Like they counted their ballots so fast. Outside of Alaska, every state that was not a swing state was pretty much called that night. But all of a sudden your swing states, you go to bed with Trump winning, and they pause only in those swing states. The only states that paused were the ones that mattered, and they're the ones taking forever.
Yeah.
Like, even like not trying to be like, even if we want to say we're not conspiracy theorists, and if you're a liberal, you have to admit there's something odd about that.
It is strange. Never heard of it before.
No.
Definitely. Yeah, the shit going down in Pennsylvania is going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of or many constitutional scholars who are going to dispute all of the shit that happened. Possibly even independents as well chiming in. Because it's crazy. Election day was over and mail-in ballots were still coming in by the truckloads up to 3 days after the election day was over. And keep in mind, like piggybacking on top of what you were saying, Gary, about other states being done, states that, well, like Florida, for example, over 10.3 million votes or ballots cast, and they got done within like 20 hours.
So the only state I'll give some pardon to with that is Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is one of the states that you cannot count the ballots before the election morning, before the polls opened. Which I think that if you want to do mail-in ballot, that's fine, but it has to be in a week before the election, and you have to tally all the mail-in ballots before the actual presidential election starts. That's how I think you would be able to continue mail-in voting and eliminate fraud.
Yeah.
Well, there has to be some way to set up verification for these sorts of things.
Not hard. Like, I don't have any forgiveness for people who did not get their ballots in on time. Everyone I know that voted early was voting in September and October.
Yeah, I had my ballot like over a month ago at least.
Did you mail and vote?
No, I had the ballot just so I could look at it and see who's actually on it.
For sure.
Did some research.
Did you vote, Mitch?
No, I had to work, actually.
You son of a bitch.
You know, you can legally leave work to vote, right? They have to let you, or you can sue the fuck out of them.
Yeah, I kind of forgot, though.
You did not
straight
forget.
up. Straight.
So hold on. The last person you voted for was Barack Obama that meeting.
No, I voted for Gary Johnson and Zach Service.
Oh, did you?
Well, yeah.
I wrote in Brandon Fanning for a judge.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I recorded my ballot. Just a bunch of a few celebs and stuff, but
yeah.
So that was the last one. But yeah, there are so many ways that voter fraud and a little bit of voter suppression could be easily eliminated. Is just, again, like I told you guys, the voter ID, and then you have to vote in person, but the polls stay open for 72 hours, 48 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has time to plan when they're going to get there. They're not overwhelmed, and you increase the number of precincts in each jurisdiction.
Well, I'm not for eliminating mail-in voting either, because there is logical reasons for it.
Sure, but again, that depends on the efficiency of the USPS, and that's what's been called into question a lot since, well, a few days leading up to Election Day.
And why wouldn't they pull shady shit? Like, they were told that Trump's trying to eliminate us, which
precisely.
I've been screaming to eliminate the United States Postal Service for the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have so much in unfunded liabilities and like retirement benefits that they have to pay out, like to future generations. They're in the red by billions of dollars every single year. And so if you have like I said, and I think J. Rick expanded on it in a previous episode, if you have a candidate that says, we want to eliminate your job because the private sector clearly does it better than you do. Well, if you're involved in an election, you're not going to help that guy, or you're not going to remain neutral.
And the Postmaster General came out and endorsed Biden too.
Exactly. So it's almost a form of legalized bribery, like welfare, really.
And it's different than like energy sector states that you're voting for Trump over Clinton or Trump over Biden because that'll eliminate your job because you're not directly impacting the election like the United States Postal Service.
Exactly. I mean, they have, if they're delivering, because for Democrats, it was like what, 75 to 78% for Democrats and mail-in ballots.
Something like that, if that's honest. Like whenever specifically when I bring talk healthcare and how the private system is so much better, the number one thing I point to is the post office versus FedEx or UPS, and how much you want to take a look at private versus public, and the best example of how it can be efficiently ran better is something the post office. And you have to remember how deep the post office runs in its federal ties, and how for the longest time it was established as the only option for that. And yes, healthcare is far more complicated, but at the same time, if it can be done with postal, then it can be done in courier, then it can be done with healthcare as well.
Yeah. Ryan,
Definitely.
Would you agree with that, obviously?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So did you boys prepare for this?
Kind
A
of.
little bit.
I read a little bit.
I thought this would be fun because I really enjoy it when we actually disagree on something and we have alternative views, and we're civil people, and at the end of the day, we can disagree and not ruin friendships over it, not hate each other's guts over it.
We'll try not to.
And obviously I think Driver's the most libertarian of everyone in that group, of the base boys here. So I don't think Driver's.
Well, I think we all have status beliefs about something, and I happen to have one of the biggest status beliefs. I think in an ideal world, obviously everyone has their status belief, and like I told you guys in Facebook Messenger, it's obviously if we could get a grid powered by nuclear energy, like fourth or fifth generation, and get it to a point where it's so cheap and it's obviously autonomous that it could be propped up going forward and nothing would ever be able to compete with it in mass. Now, on an individual level, electricity might get a bit cheaper, like maybe higher power density for solar and then higher density for power or battery pack systems. So on an individual level, it could be cheaper, but on a national scale, nuclear would be the best option. So it's you guys might have...
Everyone needs thorium-powered cars, right, Mitch?
You're goddamn right. Fuck, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I was listening to Jarek's post-mortem election, and Ryan, the biggest thing I was confused to see if this was working out, if maybe you're just speaking out of emotion, but you said, I'm for Trump's tax war or trade wars.
Yeah, let's do it.
Word for word. I don't know if that was just emotion coming out or if you actually are. So I thought, let's do a base off.
Was I emotional?
Oh, maybe you're just upset Trump won and you were kind of getting into a little bit of a rant and you're just like, I'm for this. And I don't know if you 100% meant it or if you're just kind of speaking on the whim there.
Why would I not mean it?
I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's just maybe if you took your time to sit back and think about it, maybe you're not as for it as you sounded there, is kind of what I was meaning by that.
It all depends on how you do it.
Okay. So the base off is the base boys going up against each other in a somewhat, civil format on the topic of trade wars, whether it be Trump's or trade wars and tariffs in general. We're going to start with a quick opening statement. Ryan, since you do the most work for this podcast, the floor is yours.
All right. I guess I got to do the heavy lifting here. So we're going to talk about the trade war. I'll be straight up honest. I don't know a shit ton about it. In theory, what I think about is we end up making shit so expensive here. Like Joe Biden, he wants to tax us at 60% if you're making a decent chunk of change. Who knows how much he's going to tax large companies. It makes it so you're going to want to go overseas then, because it's going to be a lower tax rate in, say, Denmark or wherever else it might be. So wouldn't it make sense to have lower taxes here, higher taxes for imports coming in to try to force things to come in here? I mean, I know cheap labor and all that ends up equalizing some things out through China. I mean, that's what makes it all profitable in the end as we pay people absolutely nothing, which I don't think it ends up being good. There's something wrong with the way America functions right now, and I don't know how you change that other than possibly controlling prices.
Right. Driver, would you like to go with your opening statement?
Sure. And what Ryan said about taxes and regulations being so burdensome here that companies do go overseas, I don't think any of us are in disagreement about obviously significantly, at the very least, significantly slashing taxes and regulations here so that companies could possibly come back. And these are some points Trump made early on in his administration when he talked about slashing regulations and cutting the corporate tax rate, which he obviously did. But then on the other hand, he talks about import taxes and tariffs on steel, aluminum coming from China, and various other products coming from other countries. And the argument goes that he's doing that because he wants to give the American workers a fair shot and a level playing field, because China subsidizes its steel industry, and the Chinese government essentially has a hand in or plays a hand in everything that corporations do over there. They get a little bit or a few more tax incentives and whatnot. So he sees it as an uneven playing field, and he wants to kind of cater to his base a little bit when it comes to, I guess, economic protectionism or nationalism or what have you. But ultimately, I mean, the argument goes that it ultimately hurts the consumer. And we saw that a little bit with farmers, and then him promising to give them only a fraction of the relief they needed because
like a third.
Yeah. Fraction of what they needed because their export markets were disturbed.
Okay, so Mitch, I know that over the course of since the tariffs have started, you continually cited that Trump's tariffs. Tell us, in your opinion, why Ryan shouldn't think trade wars and tariffs are good.
Why you should think they're not good?
Yeah. Why you should think they're bad? Like you clearly do, because you've been saying it a lot, and you've seen some valid points you made. So why do you think they're wrong?
I'm trying to think here. Well, we really don't know who has the upper hand in this, right? We buy virtually everything. I've said it before, 80 to 90% of what our everyday products in our homes, where they're from, rather, is China or Vietnam or Laos or some country where kids in a sweatshop are hopefully voluntarily choosing to work and not being forced into these fucking labor camps, which I'm sure there are a few labor camps. So it's tough to tell behind the scenes what's going on about who has the upper hand, because J-Rick has laid out the point before that, hey, they're a communist, totalitarian state, so we should try to hurt their economy collectively so that we can win in the long run, because that's the argument, is that Trump started this so that he could kind of get China to lighten up on their tariffs and their currency manipulation and some other things. But if we don't know who has the upper hand and we keep going toe-to-toe with them and they do the same with us, it's difficult to figure out where that's going to lead, not just in terms of possible higher prices here domestically, but militarily as well, because you're also restricting free trade. And in a sense, it's almost you're sanctioning the other country, and they're doing the same to you. And it becomes so complex and convoluted. And we throw in the fact that China is essentially a totalitarian state and can shut down any major corporation over there from export. I mean, that's just another wild card in this, I guess, circus that's going on. But I think Ryan and I can both agree that one man unilaterally shouldn't be able to just determine what the tariff is, like what in terms of percentage, and one person shouldn't be able to implement it.
See, but I think if I don't want to speak for Ryan, but if Ryan were to have anybody in this country regulate, one person regulate, I think he'd want it to be Trump, because he thinks that Trump. I mean, Ryan, can you kind of speak if that's correct or not on my assumption?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say somebody that at least has a business background would make sense as far as how to go about those deals. Do you want me to continue on?
Yeah,
Reply
go
to
on.
that?
Tell us why you are proud to support, why you agree with the tariffs and Trump being the way he was towards China.
Were you about to call me a proud boy?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I know you're standing back and standing by.
Yeah, somebody's just gonna have to hand me a gun, but I'll step up. Yeah, Mitch makes valid points. Absolutely. What was the last point that you just made there at the end? Talking about one man controlling it all. That's right. So, yeah, like I said, I think that somebody that has experience in it is going to have to lead the charge on that sort of a shit. I mean, that's typically the way a business ends up being run. You don't have to listen to all these other people. It's like, nope, I'm the one steering the ship, and if we go in the right direction, you like it, keep me on. If we go off, then put somebody else in charge. I mean, the same thing happens in any sort of employment. Whoever ends up running a company, whether it's a manager, CEO, whoever it ends up being, somebody's making decisions at a certain level. They could take people's advice, take their input, but there needs to be a decision maker in the end. And we kind of have a whole role. We just went through it. We voted for who we think should be in that position, making decisions on certain areas. Maybe it needs to be more widespread. Maybe we need to vote on what these percentages would end up being. But I can understand why it ends up being just one person. What ends up being best, I guess I'm not entirely sure in the end. But I just know in managing a couple of businesses now, you could listen to some people, but you wouldn't be open very long if you started listening to half your fucking staff, because they would want to do this or that, and they don't understand, the other side of it, the financial side of it, as much as they might feel, oh, this is the way it needs to be done. Like, I used to think that way about some things when I was younger, but then as you go through life, you could start changing your positions, whether it's healthcare, this or that, whether you want to be a full out anarchist, or you can see the role of government to a certain extent.
For sure.
But as far as what makes me want to support the whole regulations of it all, with tariffs, taxes, all of that, I think we ultimately are selling ourselves off if we raise taxes so much on these companies while they're here, and then it just forces them out. And that just seems to be like backdoor dealing. You get like Obama, Biden, they make millions of dollars after they are out of office. And where does that come from? And I think it has to do with these corporations ultimately, or different countries that are donating them money some way, shape, or form. So they're not directly ripping us off, but I think part of the issue is how they're selling us off, and I just don't think it does us any favors in the end. And I think where Trump went wrong, after I did some research on this, and what some people are saying he did wrong, so I'm not going to say like, oh, I figured this out, but it's basically just a few articles that said the same point, just about how imports may have been raised, like on steel or certain items, like you had mentioned, but as far as your profits from overseas, those were still taxed at like 10% or something like that. So that still is an incentive there to want to do business elsewhere. So, and I think it's like if you had a company out overseas, you made profits, but you're based in the U.S., it's not the same as selling items from somewhere to the U.S. So it's just like another way that you could have income from another country, but it's far less, because I think it was like 20% is what we're at now, 22% as far as where Trump lowered it to. but you could have it be less if you had something set up overseas. So, and I think that the reason that happened is just because Trump has a lot of business in that area. He probably didn't want to shoot himself in the foot, let's say, have himself lose money. So that's where he kind of has that. That's the bad side of having somebody that's as rich as he is and has as many investments as he does. He's not going to legislate something that's going to ultimately hurt him or his family. So
that's really why he fought for. That's a good point to bring up, because that's why he fought for tariff exemptions for some of the companies that, well, he or Ivanka or Jared Kushner have that are in China. Ultimately, I mean, rules for thee, but not for me. That's what it comes down to. And it's, and again, there are a lot of ways the whole trade war essentially gets avoided. It goes back to having sound money. If you have sound money in your country, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, instead of like a useless fucking dollar, well, it becomes much harder to manipulate the currency.
Right.
But also, if you don't have many regulations and your tax rates are extremely low, or let's say your corporate tax rate is virtually non-existent, well, companies are going to want to flood back to, wherever they can make the most profits, essentially.
Right.
And
so if those
most companies, I'm sorry.
So if those two things happen where we have sound money and businesses and companies are incentivized to stay here, then the trade war really becomes unnecessary unless it's used politically, which was a portion of, I think, what Trump did when he first ran.
Sure. And I think that's what I'm ultimately trying to say is we end up making it cheaper for them to go overseas. Mm-hmm. So why not make that more expensive, which is what he's doing, and then make our side lower? So,
yep.
Like you said, but do we go down to 0? Do we have it at 10%, 20%? I have no idea. But I just think making it cheaper than this is the way to drive those in. Because even if you lowered it, but if it's still higher than if it was, say, in China or wherever it might be,
yep.
Like you said, they're going to go to where the most profit is. So it's not pushing them in here.
True. And it becomes like, what is the threshold for going toe-to-toe collectively, U.S. versus China, in terms of trade and the differing economies? Because we have to factor in, like, they have fucking child labor camps for certain, where they like force to make our my Apple cell phones. I don't know if Ryan doesn't have an Apple cell phone, but they've done exposés and documentaries on Foxconn factories.
Sure.
And where, they have bars on the windows, they have nets outside, because kids, after working over 30 hours a day for like 6 or 7 days a week, or no, what is it? No, 30 straight hours for 35 cents an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it comes out to. And if they talk about unionizing, they go to prison. So it makes you question, when you see something made in China, well, was the person who made it making it voluntarily or out of their own free will, as in they agreed to the terms of their employment contractually, or were they forced into this shit and now they don't have many options to leave?
Yeah. Are you arguing for my side or your side now?
Yeah, it sounds like you're making a humanitarian argument for Ryan.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
I agree with all of that. Like that's part of my issue with it.
That's what you have to factor in, but it also, I think, makes the issue more complex, because if you want to use tariffs as punitive punishment for just some of the things that China does in terms of stealing intellectual property or currency manipulation or child labor or slave labor, you then have to define those things, because many countries do that to a certain extent, especially in Southeast Asia.
Sure.
And especially with the currency manipulation and the IP, well, intellectual property, that's an entirely different discussion. I think it's bullshit. It shouldn't exist. And with just the issue of money, we shouldn't have just paper and ink backed up by jack shit.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Well, and I think China wants to be the first one in on the digital currency because they can be the ones controlling and regulating it then.
Oh, definitely, they're ahead of the curve on that.
Yep.
Don't they have a crypto-backed gold standard, or
I haven't heard of
a
that.
crypto
I haven't heard
standard
of that either.
centralize and make that the go-to like digital money or whatever?
Possibly. The
Read a few things about that, but
gold-backed digital yuan.
Anytime you say centralized when it comes to any sort of currency, whether it be hard or paper, that scares me. Like,
absolutely, no doubt about it. Because then, obviously, if the state controls the money and has a monopoly on the currency, as do all governments, it's just tyranny. I mean, it becomes tyrannical, and noticeably so, at a certain point. And yeah, that's why you see governments buying up gold like fucking crazy, especially China. But also,
they're not taking it like FDR.
yeah, yeah. But what comes with that also is there's plenty of knockoff gold in China as well, and that's why you don't anything coming out of China for the most part.
So, do you guys have any closing statements now on the trade wars? Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up and consider our first Baseoff based.
I thought Ryan made great points. Great points to factor in, because I mean, if a lot of China's economy really is based off of child labor and slave labor specifically, where kids aren't consenting to work at very young ages and they can't necessarily leave those jobs, then I could totally see why a trade war, just on that alone, not all the other tomfuckery that China does in terms of totalitarianism and, implementing AI technologies to be able to identify protesters. Just on that alone, the slave labor issue, I think, is a great argument for implementing a trade war, just to see if they can back off a little bit. Because if you fuck with their economy enough and you take out a portion of their economy, and there are many unemployed workers over there because of it, well, what do people do when they're poor and unemployed and they're pissed off at their government? They actually fucking revolt.
Yeah. It'd be the one way to take a stab at China.
Yeah, and so zooming out and looking at it from that perspective, I think I could totally understand why, if it did work, and like J-Rick says, if you're in the play for the long run, it could absolutely work. And if China backs off on tariffs, if they maybe like don't allow slave labor, or send Uyghur Muslims to prison, I think that's a fucking great.
Yeah.
Right? Closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this got brought up in it all, but one thing I do think of as some sort of ramification for the whole thing is how it does affect, your everyday person, somebody who's not part of a big corporation or part of the government, whether it be, maybe those kids are bringing in money and that's how their family gets by because they have everybody out working and they have to bring something in. So maybe something does need to change with China. I mean, I think it's obvious something does need to change with China. Whether we force them to do it, whether they do it on their own, there's going to be consequences for all of that, of course, whether it's, people dying off, starving, whatever it might be. Maybe we'll have to live a lower quality of life because we can't order $3 things from Wish and get it in a couple of weeks. It's just the quality of life from Wish, of course. It's I don't know. It's not an easy thing to go about because we're so deep into it. Our ties to China and how cheap everything ends up being. So I see the negatives as far as how it might affect your everyday person, but at the same time, the path we're on is not a good one as far as what I see. Exploiting labor in that fashion. We are also becoming more, how do I put it? We're really fitting the stereotype of the way I think the world views Americans as just how we love to consume. And having cheap ass shit like that imported in doesn't help anybody in the end, I think. It's nice to get cheap shit, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I think it's created just some really ugly fucking people for society.
Just this toxic mentality if you can't handle materialism on an individual level.
Materialism. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Minimalist approach.
For sure. I think it goes back to this interesting conversation I have, or this conversation I have with a few libertarians and ANCAPs. I'll say, I worked at Amazon. I know what conditions are like in the warehouse, especially COVID. I know what they've always been like because I have friends who work at Amazon and they constantly tell me, and I just say to I tell them, I wouldn't mind if Amazon workers got paid an extra $2.50, $3 an hour, and then they come back with, right now? 15, 16, somewhere around there, and then they come back with, well, that just means you're going to have to pay more for Prime, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not going to go broke if I have to pay an extra like $5 a month,
right,
for Amazon Prime membership.
And do you though? I mean,
I'm not gonna be living off bread and water for the rest of my life because I have to pay an extra $4 or $5 a month for Prime membership, which is so just convenient.
$6.99 or something right now.
It's $9 a month, but if you use it so much, it just becomes invaluable and priceless. Really, it's just it's getting more and more convenient, and you're sacrificing, the thoughts in your head, whatever you say out loud, Alexa's gonna hear, and she'll order it right, fucking immediately. Yeah. So it's funny when libertarians, come back and say, well, Amazon has to be competitive. Well, in the United States, Alibaba, it was created by Jack Ma, and that's like the primary China. Well, they're not here. Amazon doesn't have to fucking compete. If somebody tries to compete with Amazon, they just fucking buy it with cash. It's fractions.
You're not going to be able to set up warehouses like Amazon at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at their delivery service, how it pretty much popped up overnight because they were sick of people waiting so long with FedEx. And they're like, fine, we'll do it ourselves. And it's incredibly efficient.
Yes.
Yeah, they contract out most of their delivery. And that's what I was when I worked for Amazon as delivery driver. And just how convenient everything is when you tap on the phone and you take a picture and it's just there, like every step of the way. That's why I quit Amazon, was because some fucking Karen on that 83-degree day, I think it was in September, fucking Karen calls Amazon support, customer support. They immediately know who's on the route. They call my boss. He tells me I have an infraction. I can only get so many infractions over the course of my first few months. So I'm like, fuck it, I quit. Like, this is the greatest job ever, but I quit because I don't want to have to deal with Karens. I didn't even, because I wasn't wearing a mask. That's why she called.
You weren't even wearing it as a chin diaper?
No. No. And I didn't even see anybody on my fucking route. So
you weren't even face to face talking to anybody.
No, it became so convenient for her to she probably had a glass of Moscato and was like, I'll call Amazon customer support on this peasant.
Yeah.
And then me, I'm just fucking giddy up. I'm just happy all over the place because I just got hired. It's like $17.50, $18 an hour. It's actually hot outside. There's no wind. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to wear my mask, but I'm having a great time because I'm getting exercise. And my day goes to shit. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with these Karens because, that and dog bites. Dude, these small ass dogs that would come up and bite you when you're bringing up a fucking package. Unbelievable.
I actually thought that this job would be the one extracurricular job you have that actually stuck because you were loving it. This is it.
Awesome.
He's gonna make it weak.
Yeah. Well, my first few routes, I got bit by Chihuahuas and these small ass Pomeranians that just had that cackling bark where it's like it just reverberates throughout the air and it kind of scares you a little bit. And I'm like, oh my God. And then a few of the times I got bitten, but I was like, fuck it. I'm out here. I'm loving life. I'm working for Amazon. It's enjoyable. I'm making Bezos richer. I'm helping grow his empire with convenience by fucking speeding in this van and just emptying it by the end of the day. It was a great feeling.
Well, you're also
So the idea that people living in Maple Grove, Plymouth, these nice ass neighborhoods would have to pay an extra $5 per month just so the average Amazon worker doesn't die in a warehouse, or maybe they get paid more to come close to dying. The fact that they can't or wouldn't be able to do that is just so fucking ridiculous. And that's
Yeah.
why
I've heard terrible things
Can I
about
what?
the warehouses.
Sure.
Are you being too
I'll pull my
loud?
head. Yeah,
It's 7:30.
I know. I don't know if they're watching a movie upstairs or what, but
We're getting too rowdy,
Um,
boys.
no, not you guys, me. But anyways,
Well, you're hitting on a key issue with the not willing to pay that extra few dollars a month or whatever it ends up being. I've experienced this. Maybe Gary's experienced this in the hotel world, where it's just like they don't want to pay that little bit more for any sort of quality. They
Yeah.
just want the lowest, cheapest price that they could possibly get. And if they paid this much last time, they want to pay that much again. And
I got to the point where I was just pushing it through. Like at the starting wage, like if I knew someone would be good with experience, like that's for $1.50 or $1.50 more an hour than what it was starting at. I just said fucking hired him at it.
Yep.
Got in a lot of trouble for that, but I'm like, that's how you get good people.
yeah,
Yeah, you gotta be willing to fork that over. Well, it's just like with working at Papa John's in pizza, having to compete with Domino's $5.99. I hate it, because if you're gonna sell pizzas for $5.99, you gotta sell a lot of them, because you're only making like $1 per pizza at the end of the day, if that. So it gets hard when people are very, very fucking cheap, not willing to fork over the extra dollars, and then it makes it that much harder to actually. I mean, everybody wants you to make $15 an hour. Everybody wants you to make $1 million a year, but they're not willing to be a part of the reason you make $1 million a year. They're not willing to fork over that extra $5 a month. So it's just like, I want you to make more money, but I'm a cheap ass.
That's just like the meme that I always see where it's like the communists who hate capitalism on their iPhone at Starbucks. Like it's the same when it comes to people who want $15 minimum wages. They're not willing to pay the extra, $3 for that per pizza and $2 per breadsticks kind of
Yep.
deal. Like,
Yep.
I've gotten to the point in my life, and maybe it's because I make more now, where like I'll get PJs over Domino's because it's so much better.
Sure.
Like I'll pay the extra money for something I'm going to enjoy more if it's Tuesday. I'm not doing this so people can make more money. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. I want to enjoy it. I'll spend the extra couple bucks to make it worth it.
There is the quality there. I can vouch for that working at both places. I've seen the differences. So I can see where the extra money comes from. But it also depends on who's making it. That makes a difference.
That's just like Bernie Sanders crying about $15 minimum wage, and he pays his staff $13.
Yep.
Like
hypocrisy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like
I think that's what that all boils down to.
pretty much. And he wants, the difference is I want those who have that specialization to make a little bit more, and I'm fine with paying for it as long as it's not mandatory, mandated through the wage. I think the minimum wage, of course, should be abolished. I think competition also factors into it, like Ryan was saying. But it's like, do you want to have and going back to kind of the trade war like issue and China and some of the fucked up shit China was doing, would you rather pay a few more dollars for your Nike shoes but have them in a shop with better conditions in, say, Central America or Mexico or some other country, let's say
India,
and have kids making shoes in the Philippines and China without these basic, I think,
human rights. It's a violation of human rights, is what you're pretty much getting that cheap price for.
Yeah.
To a great extent, and it's tough to tell because we all have cobalt, we all have phones, and what's in our batteries? Cobalt. Where does cobalt come? The Congo. More than 60% of the world's cobalt production is in the Congo, and quite a few of those mines are, well, children work in them, and they're not doing the work voluntarily. They're being forced, I think.
Mitch,
And so it's like, do you want to stop trading altogether? Do you want to boycott batteries because a portion of the production is illegal and unethical?
Mitch, some purple hair Generation Z girl told me that slavery was invented in America, so there's no way it could be in the Congo.
Right.
You guys want to know
Never
my
mind
thoughts on
Egypt or any of
corporate
that.
tax?
Yeah.
All right.
I think corporate
We'll
tax
fly.
should be super high. I think that isolationist policies cost more money, and making everything in America with our wage laws and proper care of people are going to skyrocket prices. And so if you
Right.
have a huge corporate tax rate that forces other countries, whether it be in a sweatshop or whatever, to create products are essentially going to be cheaper. And with isolationist policies, all you're going to do is create more minimum wage jobs, which is proven not to be good for. It makes an economy pretty stagnant. So if you jack that sucker up to 75% and force everyone overseas, everything's going to be a lot cheaper, and there's not going to be as many minimum wage jobs created.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So if you make everything in America, they have to get paid, what is the minimum wage still federally, $17.25?
$7.25.
Caleb,
Yeah.
$7.25? Yeah, that's what I meant, sorry. So if you jack the corporate tax rate up to 75% and all these companies go overseas for everything, then everything's gonna be so much cheaper because they don't have to adhere to our wage laws. And
right. So you want everything to get exported to countries where they force people into like child camps and sweatshops.
Because if you do it over here,
super cheap.
So
we can have long lines at Nike at our outlet malls in Albertville, but there's kids that want to jump out the fucking window and off themselves because they're working 12 hours a day.
Yes, because if
14 years old or whatever it is.
If everything is made over here under our wage laws, it's going to, first off, cancel all your production from overseas and build everything in America that you possibly can. It's going to create a shit ton of jobs, but those jobs are going to be low wage because they're going to be factory jobs. They're going to be line work. It's going to be very simple, non-skilled work. So then all of these workers and your unemployment is going to shoot down super low because everyone's going to need a job. So everyone's going to be working. So then, if you look at the Obama era and when his growth started, the economy recovering, all the jobs he created were essentially minimum wage or low wage jobs, and that's not good for an economy as a whole, as it slows it down and makes it stagnant. So if you do isolationist policies and have everything made in America, the economy is not going to move that much. People aren't going to spend as much because stuff's going to be more expensive.
Oh yeah,
and you're just going to be You're going to be like, if you bring everything back to America, you're going to pretty much hit pause on the economy, which is not good.
Well,
yeah. Well,
it needs to move in a circle.
What are people? But what are people going to do then? So you're just going to eliminate more jobs. You want to get rid of the low-paying jobs and have only higher-paying jobs left over?
No. I think that all the jobs are going to come in and be super low wage at the $7.25 or whatever the state's prevailing minimum wage is, and obviously it's going to go to states with lower minimum wages, so it's not going to be out in Washington. It's going to be down in like your Texas, your New Mexico's that have.
But you just don't want it to be line work. Is that what you're saying?
No, it will be. I'm saying I accept that's what it will be. I think that you're going to have a shit ton of jobs at low wage, and that's going to pause the economy. That's going to slow the economy down because people aren't going to be able to get bigger jobs because it's going to just be a fucking halt because you're going to need so many workers.
So you're for a higher tax rate because that would happen?
I'm saying if we didn't have a high tax rate, say you eliminate the corporate tax rate and build everything in America, that's what would happen. I think you need to ship all these jobs overseas.
Right.
Not in America.
That's what I'm saying. So you end up shipping them all overseas, so we have less jobs here, have higher unemployment rates?
Yep. I maybe. I mean, people can find other spaces for jobs, but if
it's just what would those jobs be if we're shipping them all overseas? It's just higher end jobs, but there's only so many positions. Like I said, you're only going to have so many managers, but if something needs to get produced and somebody can do some simple A to B to C sort of a task, just boom, 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 do these few things like make a pizza or whatever it is and make money. I mean, those jobs will stick here because it's food. But even if it's running a production line, wouldn't you rather have that here for somebody to work that job rather than somebody overseas?
Not with the minimum wage I want.
Just because it would make your T-shirts and your sneakers cost more from Nike.
Because it would create a shit ton more jobs, and unemployment would go super low, but all those jobs would be below minimum wage.
What's
you don't
wrong
want
with
that?
that? Why don't I want that?
It's proven that a significant amount of job increases all at minimum wage or low wages makes for a stagnant economy.
How? By having low unemployment makes a stagnant economy. How is that?
Yes. Because first
less
off,
people are taking government money and spending, and they're actually working during the day.
Because when these people are working, making the minimum wage with the products made specifically in America opposed to overseas, the products are now going to cost more because you have to pay for that labor, and the people won't be making enough to have basic living with rent, with food purchases and everything, and to buy stuff on top of that. So people aren't going to buy as much stuff because they're not making enough, because their factory job does not pay enough.
But you're not making anything if you're not working.
There's other jobs to be had. You want some.
There's only so many jobs. You want to limit the amount of jobs, but say there's other jobs.
You want some unemployment because it creates a competitive marketplace for wages and salaries. Zero unemployment rate does not help with create competition for.
You're never going to have 0% unemployment.
Okay, maybe not, but
I know, but I see what you're saying. Because then it makes it so that you could pay people shit fucking money, and that would probably happen if there was no minimum wage. So then, are you against the minimum wage? Like getting rid of that, or you want to have the minimum wage?
I think we should get rid of it. I think everything should be competitive. But in effort for it to be competitive, you need a balance of workers, and you need a balance of jobs. You can't have super high unemployment. You can't have super low unemployment. You need to hover somewhere in the middle.
Let's put Gary in charge. This shit sounds like it'd be fucking wild. Let's give it a shot.
It'd be illegal to be homeless in my America.
You can't be homeless. We're also going to ship your jobs overseas, but we'll also get rid of minimum wage to create all sorts of really low-paying fucking jobs for.
See, what you're seeing is
you abolish?
You're thinking I'm saying that it goes both ways. I'm saying it's one or the other. Either you have your isolationist policies, and that's your incredibly low wage, low unemployment, or you ship everything overseas under high corporate tax rates, and then you have to find other jobs in America. It's one or the other. I'm not saying you have both. I'm saying you can have one or the other.
You want to squeeze America so that it'll become more innovative rather than relaxed.
I'm pro shipping everything overseas. I'm not pro isolationist, so no, I don't want that.
But that's what you would be doing if you force jobs out of here. Somebody's going to have to come up with some sort of way to make money, or they're going to have to.
And that creates innovation, which is the greatest thing that America has, is innovative minds to create new jobs for more people at higher wages.
You're starting to sound like some sort of communist, honestly. That's the feeling I'm getting.
I think Gary's making two dichotomous scenarios that are practical.
Yes.
I mean, I understand the outcomes of those certain scenarios. It's just why you would advocate for one over the other is where I think I'm lost.
Yeah.
I want my shit cheaper. I want more competitive wages.
See, and I just feel a different way about that.
Which you can have or cannot have a minimum wage and still have competitive wages in that scenario. In the other scenario, if everything's built overseas and you don't have a minimum wage, you're right. People are working for $4 an hour. And that's somewhat of even though it's pro-isolationist, that's somewhat of a immigration effort too, because you know that people would come from Mexico to make more in America, and they'll happily work for $5 an hour.
I think it would make us stronger if we did something like that. In the end, I just am against.
I'm not an economist.
I'm just against the mass consumption that we have for products in that sort of sense. I don't think that food would get impacted, which is probably the most significant thing. Because I'm always looking at history. Where were we 100 fucking years ago? Most people were farmers. People actually had to work for their shit. People knew how to fix shit in their homes. Whereas I've had roommates that don't know how to unclog a toilet or whatever it might be. So, or one guy, he didn't even know how to start a lawnmower. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You don't know how to run a lawnmower? So it's just,
Pull the cord.
I know. We live in a world now where people don't know jack fucking shit. And
Okay.
I can't force people to change in that sense. But my God, if they didn't have it so fucking easy and they knew what sort of luxuries we have today,
But
they might have greater
let's look at history.
appreciation for shit. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What about it?
No. What made it this way is that people started working smarter, not harder. They came up with innovative
Sure.
ideas to make things easier, and that's what led us to where we are today. Whether
And
that
we've
be good or
also
bad,
made shit so
there's-
fucking goddamn cheap by shipping it overseas.
and that means people can spend more money. Which, when it does come to the
Which
US,
is my
there's still-
issue, because
there's-
then you live this life of luxury that makes you a fucking prick, dude. A materialistic
But
fuck
that's
that
human
doesn't know how to
nature.
start a lawnmower. No, it's not. No, it's
It's human
not.
nature to make the best life possible for yourself. And
Exactly.
who are we to determine what that is?
Okay, so we
Me
both
and
want to
you
make
might get
people's lives
appreciation.
harder in some way, shape, or form. I just want to make it more expensive. You want to make it cheap, but make it hard to find a fucking job to be able to buy anything.
There's still gonna be jobs produced. When that stuff gets shipped over, you're still gonna need
So it's like
a lot more people to transport stuff. You're gonna still need more courier business, more FedEx jobs, more UPS jobs. You just can essentially create more monopolies in the, if those big companies, they can take, do what Amazon does and buy everyone else out. But
Gotta make it diverse,
like,
man. You don't want
you just-
everybody working in an Amazon warehouse or everybody working for fucking Walmart.
that's the future we're heading towards.
I know, because of your sort of policies, you son of a bitch.
I just think that people are gonna find the way to be
Are you a
innovative, and
Democrat?
You're gonna have
What's going on?
you're gonna have capitalism where capitalism decides who's smart and who dies. And the people are going to have to get innovative to find ways to make their life more convenient and make their life easier. Which, yes, you're going to get some selfish pricks out of it, but at the end of the day, you're also going to have a bunch of more innovation and a lot more growth, opposed to you want to just hand everybody a job here in America working factory lines. Sounds like you're the communist.
No, because I'm not
Make
forcing
minimum
them
wage on
into
your
it.
factory line job. Maybe if you're good, you can grow into a manager.
You have
That's
the
essentially what
option
you're
to
saying.
choose what factory line you want to work on, all right?
In my world, you have example. You can choose which FedEx or UPS line you want to work for as well.
There's no factory lines, just shipping.
I mean, we're both arguing very statist, communist points here in our beliefs.
I think we're I'm at least realizing out of this whole thing that there really is no easy way out of this sort of fucking thing.
No.
You have an existence. It's somewhat meaningless to a certain extent and miserable, but it could also be beautiful. And maybe it's all about perspective and what sort of job do you want. And I guess what would create the most options for jobs maybe would be the best
Every man
outcome.
for himself. Right?
Every man for himself, absolutely. But what's going to create the most options for employment? Maybe is what it comes down to, rather than how limiting employment. Because if I could at least find a job where I'm happy being a slave.
Okay.
I mean that's the
Okay.
way people view existence. I don't agree with that, just because I
Yeah.
think ultimately you need to work. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Sit at home, jerk off, eat food, get fat, and die? I mean,
basically,
I don't
be
be who you.
Brandon.
Yes, 100%. I don't know. I think it's just that's the life at the end of the days. You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to put some sort of effort in to get anything out of it. So why not put in your labor and get dollars in return, and then how you spend those dollars is up to you. You could be like my roommate. He goes out to eat almost every day. He spends hundreds of dollars on bullshit he doesn't need, and then complains about his financial situation while he only does it to himself. I try to explain it to him, but he still just cannot budget to save his life.
Crazy.
So people will get stuck in that position where they will work hard and they're just going to feel like they're always getting the short end of the stick because they don't know how to manage money. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to fix that. People vote for Bernie. Yeah. Camps. We're gonna run you through calculus. You're gonna figure it out.
Well,
That's funny. All right, boys, I gotta head out because I got a flight to catch tomorrow morning.
Where are you going?
have fun.
going to Massachusetts for a few days.
Aren't they super locked down?
Shit, dude.
Don't you have to quarantine when you get there?
Possibly. I'm hoping to drive up along to where Ryan's sweater says Acadia National Park, but
Hell yeah, boy.
yeah, dude.
Head to Maine. Beautiful.
Yeah. Hopefully hit up some lighthouses, but again, we'll see how much it's fucking locked down because I'm pretty sure it is. If I take my mask off on the fucking airplane, I'm done. So
yeah, for real. Well,
right.
send some pictures, man, and
Yeah. Have fun.
We'll keep in
Bye.
touch.
All
Later.
right, sounds good.
Back to what we were saying, though, you've seen just as well as I have with minimum wage employees. I like to refer them as. There are some people who just aren't competent. This sounds really shitty to say, but some people just aren't competent enough to do anything more in life than meaningless labor.
Right. So why would you take that job away from them?
Okay, how many factory jobs are there right now that you'd realistically lose? Like a lot of production stuff,
Well,
I'm
we
sure,
don't
but all
have
the
them right
shoes
now.
and clothes. And so then my situation is going to put us in the same amount of jobs we have right now, minus maybe a couple, 100,000. Like,
fair enough. Maybe we're in the sweet spot.
maybe we are in a good
That's
situation.
why we need 4 more years of Trump. God damn it.
We still might get it, baby.
Oh, God. That would be a dream.
Everything sounds like Arizona and Georgia might go back his way because they're still counting, and he's only like 14,000 votes behind in Arizona or something.
Well, if he got those 2 in Nebraska, would that do it for him?
Is Nebraska under question again?
Not Nebraska, Nevada, the other end.
Oh, so Arizona's 11, Nevada's 6, and Georgia's 16. So plus 15 plus 3, 18 plus 214 is what? 18 plus 214.
I'd have to bust out the calculator.
Yeah, I'm not good at math. It might do it for him.
214. I heard a
plus
16
18.
in there.
Yep.
Plus 18 plus 16.
Yep. Plus 3.
18, 16, and 3.
Yep. Plus 214.
Plus 214. Puts you at 251.
So he's not there yet. So you need Pennsylvania is pretty much it right now.
Yeah. Well, he needs all those plus Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania's how many?
20.
Oh, yeah. That puts you at 271. That's the only way he gets it.
Yep. But if he gets Michigan, that's another 16.
Which I heard that a few counties have flipped there. I don't know if it's enough to give it to him.
Yeah, I think he pretty much needs like 3 or 4 states that he needs. Georgia has 16. North Carolina has they called North Carolina for him yet?
I don't know. Let me look.
Philadelphia's 20, North Carolina's 15, Georgia's 16, Nevada's 6, Arizona's 11, Michigan's 16, Alaska's 3.
North Carolina is still pending with 99% reporting, and he's at 50.1.
Okay, so he's pretty much got that.
Basically got it for those 15 electoral votes. They got
Has
Biden
Alaska
at
been
290. Called? Alaska's been called for him. Yep. Surprising that took so long, and they have 250,000 votes.
Yeah. Dog sleds apparently were held behind.
Of course. And Hawaii votes for Biden. The fuck?
Yeah, that's pretty liberal state. Yeah, what I'm interested in, so I heard today, like the New Hampshire governor is a Republican and he won in a landslide. So how does Biden win in a landslide in a state where the governor's a landslide Republican winner?
That's a good question. I have wondered that, how they just somehow find a bunch of ballots that have strictly Joe Biden and nobody else.
Yeah. And the down ticket ballot thing is also very confusing for me. That if you look at the differences in Trump votes versus conservative House and Senate votes versus Biden in the same scenario, like Trump's significantly closer. There's so many statistical anomalies like with this that like they
absolutely,
if they cheated, they went way too hard. And also, like I said, the Senate was a huge issue, and everyone said, you guys need the Senate to do this. You guys lost the Senate. This is your fault. You lost the Senate. And then they retained the Senate.
Yep.
Like, That does not make sense to me. If people are voting so bad to get Trump out and they know that the Republican Senate blocked Merrick Garland, and if you voted for Biden, you want to vote for the senator too, because that's how you're going to get your. Otherwise, the Republicans are just going to block every Supreme Court justice.
Right. They ultimately need the Senate. They definitely didn't get it.
How does that make sense? Like any sense in any world where it's that and it's not like this was a year ago. This was literally what 16 days before the election that they learned that the Senate's the one that pushes the Supreme Court through. Right. How don't they make a giant stride for that? Well, that makes zero sense. Like I can understand getting lazy on the House. That makes sense to me. But I don't understand if someone's voting Biden, why don't you just go circle down Democrat all the way?
Right.
There's not enough anti-Trump Republicans for that to make sense.
Right. And
so
to vote for Biden and then vote for a Republican governor, that doesn't add up to me. And when you look at this map, dude, seeing how it's just all red, when you're looking at the House map or even the Senate map, like not all the states are filled in red, but at least with the House, it looks like it shows the counties. Here, I'll pull it up so you can see it here.
So one quick argument to your governor thing, I guess I just kind of thought of was look at Tim Pawlenty in Minnesota.
What about him?
Yeah, that's very well. He's a Republican governor in a Democratic state, and he's made it 12 years. So what's that? 2 terms. So you can go, and I know Minnesota was super hard Obama, but Pawlenty stayed in, so that can happen with a governor. But
yeah, can you see this shit?
Yeah, that's super close.
Yeah, this is for the House, 218 to 202. But
Would they pick up 12 seats?
I can't remember what they had before, but that's pretty close. It's not like it's totally divided down the middle. Obviously leaning a little more in the Democrats' favor. It looks like there's a few more seats to go.
But you have to remember too that not every single, like you see that gray there, that means I don't know what that green means, but there's not every single state had Congress come up this term because it's a 6-term election.
Sure.
So it's like half of Congress or something can be lost or gained.
Gotcha.
But let's see the Senate map.
It blows my mind to see California here. It's like it's half red, but I know that most of those seats are in the heavy states, 42 to 8. But if you're looking at land area, right, the population.
Look at the population areas. Like you go through every single state for the presidential, and you see most of the states red, and only the large urban areas are blue. Yep. Maybe it was the Senate I was thinking of that was every other election cycle or something like that. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Like, that's a majority red. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of the states are blue compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 19 red.
20 in Alaska.
20 including Alaska. Like, like go to the presidential race and then click on a couple different states and you'll see like the huge population density issues. So like Minnesota, obviously super red except for a few liberal areas.
Yep.
North Dakota, if you look, it's gonna be like Bismarck, Fargo, Grand Forks, like even New York. Fucking look at that. I mean, a very blue state.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, Fargo's red. Yeah. Look at Oklahoma quick. Yeah.
Bleeds red.
I heard about that and I didn't know if I believed it or not. But like California, look, it's majority blue, I guess, but that's an incredibly liberal state. Yeah, Nevada, I know you're only going to have your like Carson City and Reno and Las Vegas. Yep. Oh, look, the super liberal areas, the majority of the state is red.
They're the ones that end up swaying the whole thing. Like when I've looked at the map and I click on states, that's what really ends up blowing my mind is just seeing how much lights up red. But Georgia here, it's blue just because look at these areas.
Yeah. which makes me question why people want to abolish the electoral college even more.
Yeah.
Because they lost on it once. Where realistically, you don't even need the electoral colleges because your state can go blue based on a few areas. Like look at Illinois.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like,
yeah.
what's the point of like the electoral college is in your favor simply because your large population areas like can determine a state for you.
Yep. In a way.
The only reason they wanted to abolish is because they lost on it.
I know. I had this argument with somebody very recently where I just say, do you really want it where just these high density, high population areas make decisions for the entire country? But it seems to be that way regardless. Even though look at Pennsylvania, it's all red.
Yeah.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 counties out of however many counties this is, probably 25, 30 counties. I mean, almost double the counties for the entire state. But Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Allentown, and Erie are the ones that really make all the decisions for the rest of the fucking state.
Your large populations already decide who it is. Yeah, fucking look at that. A third of the state is red. That's his home state.
Yep.
Or maybe that wasn't. No, that was right. He's from Delaware.
It was Delaware. That was Delaware that I pulled up right there. But only 3 counties.
Yeah.
Not a very big state. Where the fuck did the map go?
You have to go click all states again. DC doesn't have counties.
Oh, that's what I did.
New Hampshire is really perplexing. Like I was saying before about the governorship. But I don't know.
That's still a pretty close vote. I mean, it's 53% to 45%. It's not off by very many votes.
On Joe's pulling away.
Oh my God.
Votes from both. Like that's the argument I love with Democrats. Well, you're stealing votes away from the candidates. Like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but a lot of libertarians, if they had to pick between the two, aren't voting for Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well, 13,000 votes wouldn't have swung that one very much anyway.
That's Bernie country. That's pure blue.
Yeah, and I can't find many states where she took so many where she would have swayed it in anybody's favor.
Wisconsin. Look at Wisconsin. I think she did really well there. Maybe not.
Well, if you would have gave Trump those votes, I guess that would have closed that gap between them.
Yeah.
That's one scenario, I suppose.
Yeah, Minnesota, if you add up all the votes given to the other candidates, Trump still would not win. Like if every single Kanye, Howie, Joe, Rocky voter voted for Trump, you still would not have won in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's quite the gap. Over 200,000.
Which I still don't understand Minnesota, man. Like, I thought it was going to go red. And what the hell happened up in Duluth?
It feels that way, but you get Minneapolis here, and then Duluth. It's a bunch of hippies. I've said it before, and I'm going to say that for a long time, I feel like.
Just and then what's that blue area over on the other side?
Here, the small one?
No, on the other side of the state, the western side, the one blue dot. Is that like Fargo? Like west side. There you go.
That's going to be...
I know it doesn't tell you, but I just don't know how good you are with your counties, but...
Here, I'll pull it up. Maps.
Maybe you can pull up Minnesota County map. I think that's like the Fargo area, though. Yeah. Southern. Yeah. Yep. Fargo, Moorhead-ish area. Yeah.
Let's see.
Bunch of fucking hippies. Anoka County went red. Thanks to my vote. Why do you have a heart by Battle Lake?
That is where my aunt and uncle live. There's their address.
You just posted it online for all 40 people who watch us to see.
Jesus Christ, they're gonna get doxxed now. Yeah, they
did you see what the Lincoln Project did?
What's that?
You see what the Lincoln Project did?
No, I did not.
They voxed the attorneys working on the Trump case in Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yep, pulled up their names, their emails, their phone numbers, and put it out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the world we live in today. Everything's online.
Yeah, but back to the point about how ridiculous it is that major cities and states determine like who wins and who doesn't. Like, how many times does the electoral college not work in your favor when that happens? Look at Florida too. Like, I know that's an interesting one. That's pro-Trump clearly, but a swing state. Like the big counties, like still win Trump. Wherever there's a city big enough to get their name on a map is clearly blue.
Yep. Which is very
What's Louisiana
interesting.
look like?
Mostly red. Yeah. All these major cities, for some reason, vote Democrat.
Well, they don't even know why.
Yeah, it doesn't quite add up to me. If you see a dot on the map, there's a little bit of blue around it for the most part.
Unless you're in Greenville, South Carolina. What's West Virginia?
Wow.
Pure red. That's got some liberals in it. A few, Lexington and Louisville.
Same thing. What the hell?
And it's funny because if you want to contrast this map to crime maps, I'm sure it'll look pretty similar.
Right? Yeah, Oklahoma, straight up. Let's look at that. It would be interesting to count the number of counties. Like if you took every county in the United States, line them up either red or blue, and see what the number ends up being at the end of the day. Because
really,
Nevada's blue. There's only 2.
Each county should get an electoral college within the state based off their population that determines the state.
Yeah, because Nevada, you're looking at 13.
What's Mitt Romney county look like? Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to
Wyoming's
make sense of it.
Pure red. There's some hippies in Wyoming. Yeah.
Not many. Montana. Yeah.
That's not too surprising. Are you still going to Denver this weekend?
It's not this weekend. It's next Friday.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see what changes from now until then. But based on the cases and all that jazz, it's likely that all we're going to do is go visit our family and just stay there. Not go out or do anything else. But
you can go hiking, can't you?
Oh, yeah. We'll probably go out, maybe do a little Frisbee golfing, go out and about, but it's not going to be going out shopping or
breweries, all that stuff.
Seeing shit in the city. It's going to be hiking, shit like that.
But if you go to Colorado, that's more enjoyable, in my opinion, than going into the city.
Yep. Yeah.
Are you going to go to the dispensary?
Probably.
Just to check it out.
Yeah. I mean, I went last time we were out there. I've been to Colorado already once before, and it's quite the experience.
I heard it's pretty like lock and key, like civil order, like in those shops, like no fucking around.
Yeah, there's no fuckery whatsoever, and I mean you're in and out with some places. Some places they're a little more relaxed. It depends on what sort of shop you go into, but like the real popular ones where they got people, I mean they got lines all set up, like I don't know what you'd call it, but they got like the rope set up. They have the whole queue set up where you're winding through the store, and it's just you run through the line, you quickly pick your shit, and you're out of there.
Did you buy anything?
Oh yeah,
nice.
Definitely.
You didn't fly back with it though, did you?
No.
Okay, that's probably good.
Well, nothing that I'm gonna admit here on air. Well, I not like anybody's gonna see this shit, but maybe somehow came back with me.
Oh, that's interesting. Were you nervous?
A little bit.
If you did it? If you
Yes,
would have done
if I would have done it, I was definitely nervous, but
it. Okay.
let's say that it ended up working out in the end.
When we went to New Orleans for vacation a few years ago, I bought a box of cigars
Yeah.
that were all hand rolled down there. And on our way out, we got stopped by my bag got stopped. I'm like, fuck, can I not fly with those? It was like a pill bottle or something I got flagged for, but still, like, I was nervous. I'm like,
Wow.
can I not fly with cigars? Like, I'm Googling it, like, shit.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Actually, it was a bottle or a can of seasoning we bought down there, like Cajun seasoning.
that didn't make it back.
No, they gave it back to us. They just thought it was a bomb or something.
Oh, of course.
You know, it's a cylinder, I guess. I don't fucking.
Yeah.
Can't say.
Dumb. But yeah, hopefully that all works out. Hopefully your wedding works out, man.
Yeah, it's a shitty situation all
How
around.
many people do you have invited?
We have 102 RSVP'd yes right now.
Damn, so you got to cut that in half at this point.
Yep. And like our ceremony is gonna be super small and intimate, just immediate family. But like it totals out with the groomsmen, bridesmaids, grandparents, brothers or sisters and brother-in-laws and parents. It comes out to like that's 26 or 28 people right there. So we pretty much get to invite 10 people each, and you can't go up to the bar. You have to pretty much do everything with a mask on if you get up from your table. Like it's just not gonna be fun.
No. Doesn't
So
sound
we're gonna
fun.
try and cancel it. No, I'm trying to get out of it, but my venue is being kind of a dick.
Yeah, I could see that. They don't want to lose their money.
Yeah, but like, if they let us reschedule it, they need to understand that they're gonna make 3 times the money.
Well, yeah, if they're the ones selling the booze, providing the food, you can actually
Yeah,
have over
just-
100 people rather less than 50. Because who knows who
Yeah.
would show up if you even cut the list down.
Yeah, in a non-COVID world, like we would have probably about 150 people who RSVP'd yes, and
Right.
so would you rather have 150 people buying booze or buying stuff for food and booze for, or 50? Like, what's the better financial situation?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and if you're so broke that you can't afford to continue running then in a business, then you probably don't deserve to be a business at this point. If you haven't adapted to COVID, that's not on your consumers, that's on you.
Partially. Unless all you do is weddings, then that's hard.
There are some exceptions, obviously, with industries and stuff like that, but like still. But there's also PPP loans in place and like
Yep.
stuff out there to help you.
There's definitely things you could do. You have to adapt to what we're going through right now. And hopefully you make it through this year, and by beginning of next year or so, when the vaccine starts getting pumped out, you can actually hold events, have your venue filled. But yeah, when you can only invite 50 people and 30, 40 show up when you could have tripled your income if you would have waited, I mean, that makes sense.
Yep. Which, did you see what the Biden campaign said?
I have not. What'd they say?
That when the vaccine is distributed, America gets it last under Biden's plan.
Are you serious?
Yep.
How is
Which
it?
to me
How did
either
they
means
say
that
that?
What?
How is it that they said that?
Look it up.
I guess I'll have to.
But like to me, that's either meaning that we're going to use the rest of the world as guinea pigs. So if something goes wrong, that's America uses as guinea pigs. Blah blah blah. Or you're saying that America's in such good enough situation that we can afford to give out vaccines to other countries, and it's not as dire as everyone's been saying it is, and we can afford to wait till the last rounds because other countries need it more. If that's the case, then why did you run an entire campaign on how Trump's not handling it correctly?
Right. I see
I don't
this. They're going
get
to
it.
distribute it globally before they'll distribute it in the U.S.
Like, how's that work? Like, what's the explanation behind that? Like, oh,
Trump's
we don't need it
response is
here.
bad, but I'll show him. I won't even give you the vaccine. You want it?
Also-
You'll have to wait even longer.
in the group chat yesterday, you brought up how Sweden's going through a second surge, and I looked it up, and like they have a huge like spike up to 3,000 new cases in the last couple of days,
Yeah, they're definitely jumping up.
which is interesting because Sweden was kind of a outlier, and
It was one
It was
everyone liked to
working.
look to. Yeah.
It was working. Like herd immunity was being established, and like now all of a sudden the deaths are still super low and the cases have only gone up, but it's just
Right.
it's such a toxic cesspool. With COVID is a toxic cesspool of being a real thing, being politicized, overreaches and government.
Yep.
Like, but you're right. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't feel bad for Tim Walz, but it can't be hard. It can't be easy to be making these decisions.
It's not easy, no matter what you lose with people, because it's such a divided topic as far as what you do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say because while you could say herd immunity makes sense with what we know of viruses and all that shit, it just seems like COVID is such a unique case, probably because it's bioengineered and it got out into the public. Putting my tinfoil hat on right now, but it just seems to be that way given from what I've seen, how it's kind of skipped, what would you call it, skip generations through its evolution here, because there's missing pieces in it. Doesn't look as, if it is zoonotic, there's something in it where it was altered somewhere along the way to make it as supercharged as it is. It didn't jump directly from bats to us. There's somewhere in the middle that we're missing in this whole thing.
And that's the one downside that Trump's always had, is that when he says something correct, it's just blown off as, fodder because he's Trump.
Yeah.
Where if anyone else would have blamed China, maybe we should take a look at that.
Yeah.
But like, what do you do? Like,
it's hard when I think China has a large role in our media. They have a lot of money and power and influence in America. So all that shit gets buried. The World Health Organization's on their side, of course, and
but what do you do? Say China comes out and admits it and says, "Yep, we bioengineer this. Haha, jokes on you guys." What do you do to them?
that would be like a call to war, wouldn't it? If you're releasing a bioweapon upon the world, you're going to make a lot of people upset. China would never do that, just because China doesn't like it if you compare it. Like Xi Jinping doesn't want you to compare him to Winnie the Pooh. So with shit like that, I highly doubt they would ever admit that they did something terrible to the entire world. You can't make fun of them. But they don't want to look like they did something wrong.
How much would the world suffer if China was eliminated? Think of everything that, like we were talking about earlier, that is produced there, that goes on there, all the contributions that they make. Like some of their college universities make like outstanding contributions to the world.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that's not enough not to go to war with them, but like if you eliminated China and China cut off all exports, the rest of the world would be hurting just as bad as a virus. So what do you do? Like, is China too big to fail, too big to stop? Like
they definitely want it to be that way. They want you to make you think that you can't live without them. That's for sure.
Can you?
I think we could. Why not? I mean, there's no reason I need to go buy cheap ass shit from China. It can come from other countries.
Not everything from China's cheap though. Like a lot of it is.
What do we get? Our drugs? Drug prices might go up.
It's already a huge problem. You're gonna just lead down the road to
food would be okay though. Food would be okay. Isn't food one of the most important things?
Yeah, I mean, you might have a low rice number,
but everything else in general would most likely be okay. What jobs are you really going to be lacking? You can't get your shoes. You can't get your little products as far as your plastic pieces of shit that you buy from overseas.
Electronics.
Some electronics will become more expensive. Whoopee fucking do. Do you really need the new PS5 or the new Xbox?
No, but we're not a minimalist country. We're not a minimalist world.
We need to be.
We're not a minimalist world overall. Like
that's where I'm a real conservative, man.
It's going to affect the prices of all the other countries' exports too. Like just if they start producing stuff that China used to, do you think that they're going to drop the price or raise the price? It's simple supply and demand.
It may be more expensive, but they're not going to price themselves out of the whole fucking market.
Yeah, but if you're exclusive at something, you can make yourself very expensive. Look at the car market.
You're cutting out one fucking country. Fuck them. Get
one
rid of
fucking
them.
country that's pretty damn big. I'm not a China apologist by any means, but I think it's a lot more delicate to deal with a situation like that. If they were to say they came out and admit it, it'd be a lot more delicate than just fucking send us some nukes over there.
If they came out and admitted that they released a virus upon the entire world and they fucking lied about it, they can go to fucking hell, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you.
I don't care if their
They can,
country
but
fucking burns and
there's not
falls
gonna be-
apart. Fuck them all.
There's not going to be ramifications. There's going to be ramifications of those actions.
That's fine. China made their bed. They're going to lie in it. Those sons of bitches.
So just fucking send some nukes their way. A couple different countries, Russia, U.S. Just everyone get together at the UN.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki seeming very familiar all of a sudden. It's coming to mind.
Just get together at the UN on a secret meeting in the bathroom without China and say, okay, you guys take the north, we'll take the south, you hit the east central. All right, let's go, nukes.
Basement is not plotting anything right now. These are all hypothetical situations. But my God, I'd like to see it happen if that were the actual scenario. If they did admit it, that would definitely piss me off. And why not slap them around a little bit?
I mean, you already think it happened, so why not just go forward with your plan? I'm sure. I have the
This
feeling
is why
like
nobody voted me in, and it's probably a good choice. Keep me out of that
I wrote
seat.
you down for a judge.
No way.
I wrote all the basement boys.
I should have wrote you down, son of a bitch.
I wrote all the basement boys down as judges.
I didn't like that. I don't like that it's incumbent and then nobody else.
Yeah, that's why I put all the basement boys.
So I just keep them in there, or yeah. One of us needs a campaign just for one specific judge. I want to be judge number 4.
You got to be a lawyer to become a judge.
Fair enough.
So are you going to go to law school and take one for the team, Ryan?
Nah, dude. I like my job, and I don't want to put myself through a lot of stress and bullshit.
We'll have Logan do it.
Yes, we'll have Logan do it. He's young enough. My back hurts already. I'm 29 years old.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that.
Could you imagine Driver as a judge?
he would have a point, and then somebody would make an argument, and he's like, "You know what? I understand where you're coming from. Maybe you're right."
All jury selections have to be presented in meme format.
Yeah. I'm not understanding it clearly. What meme template will we use today? Best meme wins.
Did you like this? Yeah. Best meme. Don't even present your cases. Each of you present a meme, and whichever one I like better is who wins the case. No jury necessary.
Yep. That would be Driver.
Oh,
well, I liked the whole argument there, the base off that you came up with. I liked the idea of it. I think that really sounds good. How much Mitch and I could get into it, I don't know. I think we ended up arguing each other's points better than
which is part of the fun too, because you probably realized some things you didn't think before. Maybe he did too, or at least vocalized it.
Yeah, and part of it is I realized that it's a complicated issue. You could go either way with it. It's hard to say what's the right way to go. I think that I just lean more this way, where he might lean more that way.
Yeah.
But
he's also super more against tariffs in his social media presentation than he was today.
Yeah. And he'll do that, I think. I think when it comes to social media, you only get snippets of it where you can't dive into the issue, where it's like he might hold a certain viewpoint on it, but as a whole, he might feel a certain way about it. And maybe he didn't think about the labor aspect of it. Maybe it's something he considered tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever see anything else or have any other ideas for one of those, it doesn't have to be long. It can be one of our short clips that we've been talking about for months now.
Yeah. I can cut it down. I just have to do some work.
Or we can challenge each other to base-offs for disagreeing in chat. Base-off, 15 minutes. Let's go.
I like it. Let's do that. And let's get some other people. I wouldn't mind getting some other viewpoints in here. That would really make it a base-off.
We don't conflict a lot either.
Yeah.
But there are some things we do. Like, I'm pretty anti-libertarian now.
Yeah.
And I can argue why, like when me and Driver were getting into that one day about why a libertarian president would not work, because what would they be able to do?
Not jack shit.
Putting that into like web format would be fun, I think.
It would be.
So I don't know. And if you ever seen anything, and I like the 24-hour heads up just so you can have time to prepare, so you can actually come with facts and stuff like that. And I think 24 hours is enough time to, put together some stuff.
I agree.
So, all right, well, I'm going to head out now.
Yeah, same.
So
I got to hit the restroom. Yeah, it was fun, man. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, have fun in Colorado.
Thanks, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Yep. Bye.